Ladies and gentlemen, sure, here's a compelling Jessica-style intro for your motivational speech titled How to Win Alone 2-Hour Competition. Confident, fierce, emotionally strong, and straight-up powerful. Just like you ever walked into a room full of people and realized you're the only one standing alone. No support, no cheer squad, just you and your grind. That's what this speech is about. How to win when it's just you vs time. 2 hours, one chance. No one's coming to save you. No one's coming to remind you how great you are. It's just you, your willpower, and the clock ticking. And guess what? That's more than enough. Because when you're alone, you find out who you really are. You find out what you're made of. You learn to breathe through pressure, break through limits, and rise above noise. This isn't about luck. It's about mindset. It's about preparation. It's about being so dialed in that even silence becomes your loudest motivation. So if you're ready to dominate even when no one's watching, if you're ready to go into that 2-hour battle and come out not just surviving, but winning, then stay locked in. Let's get it. Silence is one of the most powerful tools available when you're competing alone. In a 2-hour competition with no one cheering for you, no teammates to push you, and no audience to clap when you do something right, you're left with the rawest version of performance, you versus your own doubt. Most people fear silence because it feels like emptiness, but in reality, silence is space. Space to think, space to breathe, space to lock in. It's the ultimate test of focus. In the noise of everyday life, we're surrounded by constant distractions, notifications, conversations, music, scrolling feeds. But in the quiet moments of real pressure, when it's just you and your mission, your mind becomes the only voice left. That silence becomes the arena, and your thoughts become your opponents or your teammates. Most people crumble in that space because they're not used to being alone with themselves. They're addicted to feedback, constantly seeking approval and signs from the outside that they're doing well. But winning alone starts with being okay with no one noticing you, no one clapping for you, and no one telling you that you're doing the right thing. You must learn to be your own validation. In that kind of silence, what rises is your real focus. Distractions fade. You stop looking left and right. You stop worrying about what anyone else is doing, and you finally put all that energy into yourself. In those moments, your mind sharpens like a blade. No noise, no opinions, just execution. It's in this space that high performers are forged. It's not natural at first. The silence feels like pressure. You'll hear your heartbeat. You'll notice your breathing. You'll think about quitting. That's your mind testing you, checking if you're really built for this. And that's where you need to lean in, because focus isn't something you find, it's something you create. It's a decision, a commitment to block out the world and zone in on what matters. In a 2-hour competition, it's not the one with the most talent who wins. It's the one who can concentrate the longest without breaking. Focus is endurance, focus is strength, and focus is born from silence. When you compete alone, no one is going to remind you to stay on task. No one is going to scream, "Keep going," when you're tired. You have to be that voice, and that voice grows louder when the world grows quieter. In silence, your inner voice becomes your command center. It tells you to push, to slow down, to breathe, to dig deeper. But that voice can also sabotage you if you're not aware of it. That's why silence also reveals your weaknesses. It shows you where you hesitate, where you second guess, where you stall. And when you see those flaws, you're given the rare opportunity to fix them. You can't hide behind teammates or coaches when you're on your own. Every strength and weakness you have is exposed under that silent spotlight, and that's where real growth happens. Most people chase hype, but winners chase quiet. That's where the real work happens. It's not glamorous, it's not loud, but it's effective. Silence strips away distractions and forces you to deal with yourself. You learn to coach yourself, hype yourself, calm yourself, and challenge yourself, all without making a sound. Because when you learn to thrive in silence, you become unshakable. The world can scream, the pressure can rise, but inside you stay locked in. Nothing rattles you, because you've already done the hardest thing. You've mastered the art of showing up for yourself when no one else did. Preparation is the hidden advantage in any competition, especially when you're going in alone. In a 2-hour solo challenge, you don't get second chances. There's no time to figure it out on the spot, no one to cover for you, and no timeouts to regroup. That's why the work you do before the clock starts determines how you perform when it counts. Most people wait until they're under pressure to start thinking seriously, but champions prepare before the pressure arrives. They rehearse, they study, they build muscle memory so strong that when the moment comes, they don't panic. They perform. Training hard means putting yourself through difficulty before the real thing even begins. It's choosing to suffer in private so you can succeed in public. It's staying longer, going harder, asking more of yourself even when no one is watching. When you've already fought through the worst in training, competition becomes familiar. It stops being intimidating and starts becoming an opportunity. That 2-hour challenge, it just becomes another session, nothing new, nothing unexpected, just execution, and the only way that happens is by preparing so thoroughly that you leave nothing to chance. Panic happens when your preparation is weak, when you're unsure, when you've skipped reps, when you've avoided discomfort in training. Your body and mind will betray you under stress. You'll freeze, overthink, hesitate. But when you've been through the fire in practice, you don't doubt, you react, you move with certainty, you trust your process. That's what real preparation gives you. It replaces fear with confidence. It replaces hesitation with action. It replaces uncertainty with clarity. It gives you control in a situation that feels chaotic. Preparation is also about knowing your environment. It's not just about mastering your skill, it's about mastering the circumstances. You study the rules, the time limits, the structure. You eliminate surprises. You anticipate setbacks before they happen. You build systems to deal with fatigue, with distractions, with mental dips. You rehearse not just success, but struggle. What will you do when you hit the wall halfway through? What's your plan when your energy crashes or your focus slips? These are the questions real competitors answer before the event begins. Because they know that the ones who win aren't always the strongest or the fastest. They're the ones who come in with a plan. It's easy to pretend to be confident, but fake confidence crumbles under pressure. Real confidence comes from evidence, hours of reps, consistent progress, discipline in your preparation. It's quiet, calm, and unshakable. It's knowing that you've done the work and it's going to show. That level of preparation gives you a different kind of swagger. Not the loud, arrogant kind, but the grounded, locked-in kind. You don't need to boast. You don't need to convince anyone. You're just ready. In a 2-hour competition, there will be moments where your energy dips, your motivation fades, and your doubts creep in. But preparation becomes your anchor. It's the part of you that says, I've been here before. I know how to get through this. You fall back on what you trained for. You lean into the reps, you let the work carry you. When others are breaking down, you're staying steady, not because the moment is easy, but because you prepared for it to be hard. That's what separates those who win from those who wish they had. It's not magic, it's preparation. It's hours of commitment that no one else sees, building a foundation that no pressure can shake. Mental endurance is the real muscle when you're going into a competition alone. You can be physically strong, technically skilled, and fully prepared, but if your mind isn't trained to endure stress, fatigue, boredom, and self-doubt, you will break long before your body does. The truth is, most battles are lost in the mind before they're ever lost in the arena. Mental endurance isn't just about staying positive, it's about staying present, staying composed, and staying relentless even when everything inside you wants to quit. It's about not letting temporary emotions create permanent decisions. It's about discipline over feelings, focus over frustration, and control over chaos. In a 2-hour solo competition, you're going to hit walls. There will be moments where your energy drops, where your thoughts spiral, where your motivation disappears. That's normal. What separates winners is what they do in those moments. Do they spiral into panic, or do they reset and refocus? Do they drown in negative self-talk, or do they breathe, reframe, and push through anyway? Mental endurance is the skill of catching yourself in the moment and choosing not to give in. It's the ability to sit with discomfort without letting it define your performance. It's pushing through when the hype is gone and the grind is all that's left. This kind of strength doesn't come from talent or natural confidence. It comes from training your thoughts just like you train your body. It's about learning to observe your thoughts instead of reacting to them. It's recognizing when your mind starts creating false time is either your greatest enemy or your sharpest tool depending on how you use it. In a 2-hour competition, time isn't just ticking, it's challenging you. It's daring you to see whether you'll rise or retreat, whether you'll take control or let it slip through your fingers. The biggest mistake people make in any time challenge is watching the clock too closely. They become obsessed with how much time is left instead of what they're doing with the time they have. They start pacing their energy based on fear instead of purpose. But the secret to winning is not counting minutes, it's making the minutes count. You don't break the time by beating the clock, you break the time by owning every second within it. When you treat time like an enemy, you rush, you panic, you either freeze or you force. But when you treat time like a partner, you move with rhythm, with strategy, with intention. You learn to pace your energy without losing intensity. You learn to control your mind without dulling your urgency. Every second becomes a decision point. Do you stay locked in or do you drift? Do you attack or hesitate? Do you waste time second guessing or do you move forward with conviction? That kind of focus turns ordinary minutes into powerful momentum. You stop worrying about the outcome and start dominating the moment. The ones who win are the ones who understand timing is a skill, not just time management, but emotional timing, knowing when to push hard, when to breathe, when to reset. You learn how to stretch the moment, how to slow your thinking while moving fast. You don't just react, you respond with intelligence. That's what separates elite performers from average ones. It's not just about doing more in less time, it's about doing the right things in the right sequence with the right mindset. Pressure either breaks you or builds you based on how prepared you are to handle time. That 2-hour window isn't about survival, it's about domination. Discipline with time starts before the competition begins. It's built in the way you train, the way you set your schedule, respect deadlines, eliminate distractions, and show up with urgency even when no one is watching. If you train casually, you will compete casually. But if you treat every rep, every drill, every minute of preparation like it matters, then when the real countdown begins, you're already operating at your peak. You've already trained your brain not to waste a second. You've already developed the habit of locking in. In competition, that habit turns into momentum. You hit the ground running while others are still trying to find their rhythm. There's a different level of power that comes from being calm under time pressure. You stop being reactive and start being surgical. You notice everything, you adjust quickly, you keep moving even when your body's screaming and your brain is tired, because you've trained yourself not to panic. You've trained yourself to keep going. Time doesn't scare you anymore because you've built a mindset that respects it, that works with it, that uses it. That's how you break the time. You don't let it define your performance. You define what that time means for you. You take command of every phase, the start, the middle grind, the final sprint. You don't chase time, you lead it. You don't fight the clock, you make the clock chase you. That's the level of control you need if you want to win alone. Self-talk is one of the most powerful forces in any competition, especially when you're going at it alone. In a 2-hour challenge with no external motivation, no teammates, no coach whispering advice, the only voice you'll hear is the one inside your head. And that voice can either push you forward or pull you down. The difference between someone who keeps going and someone who breaks often comes down to the quality of their self-talk. It's not about being fake, positive, or lying to yourself. It's about training your mind to respond with power, precision, and control in the middle of chaos. The truth is, you're always talking to yourself, whether you realize it or not. The real question is, are you speaking like a champion or like a quitter? The way you speak to yourself under pressure reveals how you've trained. Champions speak with clarity, they speak with certainty, they don't let doubt lead the conversation. Instead of saying, I hope I can do this, they say, I've trained for this. Instead of panicking when things go wrong, they say, adjust and keep moving. That inner dialogue becomes your internal coach. When you start to feel fatigue creeping in, your self-talk becomes the reset button. When your body starts giving you excuses, your self-talk reminds you of your purpose. When you hit that moment of frustration or fear, your self-talk is the fuel that keeps the fire alive. Most people never take control of their inner voice, so it controls them. That voice becomes negative, destructive, critical. It magnifies every small mistake, it exaggerates every weakness, and it feeds the urge to quit. But when you train yourself to speak powerfully, intentionally, and constructively, that same voice becomes a weapon. It keeps you locked in. It becomes your mental armor. You might feel pain, but you'll say keep going. You might feel slow, but you'll say breathe and reset. You might feel overwhelmed, but you'll say this is what I prepared for. That voice creates a loop of momentum that keeps your head up and your focus sharp. Self-talk doesn't mean lying to yourself about how easy things are. It means being real with yourself about how capable you are. It's about being honest with your struggle and then immediately redirecting toward action. The power is in how you frame things. If your legs are tired, do you say, I can't do this anymore? Or do you say, this is the part where I grow? If your plan isn't working, do you say, I'm failing? Or do you say, time to adapt? Those subtle shifts completely change the way your brain responds to stress. They flip the switch from survival mode to performance mode. Self-talk also gives you ownership. When you're alone, there's no one to blame, no one to lean on. You become the leader in your own mind. You call the plays, you set the tone, you create the energy. You hype yourself up when you feel flat. You calm yourself down when you get too tense. You stay locked in even when your emotions are all over the place. That's self-mastery, and it's built one thought at a time. The more you do it in training, the more automatic it becomes in competition. Eventually, your inner voice becomes a built-in support system that never leaves, no matter where you go. You don't have to be loud to be powerful. Some of the most dangerous competitors are the ones who never say a word out loud, but are having a whole conversation inside their heads. A conversation full of grit, fire, resilience, and control. That voice carries them through the highs and lows, through fatigue and frustration, through doubt and chaos. When you build that kind of voice, you don't need outside noise to get motivated. You don't need someone else to validate you. You've got your own voice, your own rhythm, your own power source that never shuts off.